we're still operating in a patriarchy. Capitalism is masculine energy.
It's all about money.
Absolutely. And it's all about growth, right? You need positive year-on-year growth. You need positive CAGR growth. So everything constantly has to grow. But it is implied that however we are currently is not something to be satisfied with.
Hello, good day. In this podcast, I have conversations with women who are building their businesses in their own way. We speak about the paths they've walked, the moments of meeting their edges, and the shifts that followed and allowed them to integrate feminine energetics into their work. These are honest conversations about building, leading, and creating from the inside out, meant to inspire women to unmute their voices and build in ways that are uniquely their own. Today, I am having a very potent conversation with Milena. She is a burnout recovery coach and former senior leader in the global fashion industry, where she spent 18 years in high pressure environments and people leadership. Her work is deeply shaped by lived experiences, navigating childhood trauma, healing chronic health issues through natural approaches, moving countless times, decades of overwork and people pleasing, and ultimately a severe burnout that forced her to radically change how she related to work, success, and to herself. Milena was invited by her own healing journey to learn how to reconnect with her body, emotions, and sovereignty. Now she builds freedom from the inside out. Everything she teaches today has been lived, tested, and embodied through her own experiences. And just a few days ago, before we connected for this podcast, Milena sent a beautiful intention. And this intention is that she would like for anyone who is connected to this podcast in whatever way to receive a strong light energy transmission, to feel empowered and cleared. And I absolutely love this intention. And so thank you so much for bringing that forward from you to us, to me, and to everybody that was a guest on this podcast, that is going to be a guest in this podcast, and also that is going to be listening and integrating our potent conversations. Hello, Milena. Thank you very much for being here. I would love to hear a little bit more about you. And from there, please take us into your world.
Hello, Ghislaine. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here on Living Unmuted. Everything starts with intention, right? We set an intent for this podcast. And I think
Definitely.
your intention is so golden as well, to empower women in this conversation to really authentically be themselves. That's all I've ever wanted. And I think from the moment where I consciously understood that that's what I wanted, that's also what I put out there. So let's get
Well,
into it.
that's a very interesting way of putting this. From the moment you understood it, so there's a before and an after. Would you please share about the before? You worked in the fashion industry for 18 years. What I understand and know from the fashion industry is that it's a very it's a world where there's a lot of competition. Is that something that you would mind sharing a little bit more about how it was for you to work in that world for 18 years?
Of course. Look, I'm a Libra. I like all things beautiful. It was very clear since I was 12 I was going to end up in the fashion industry, to no one's surprise. And yeah, I spent 18 years in it, mostly in luxury fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And, it really is an industry that's incredibly tough on you. So 12, 14, 16-hour days, completely normal, constant travel, still working at 3 a.m. when there's fashion week, in all of the different jobs that I was able, gratefully, to have and to work in within that industry. It is an insane amount of work. And what I really realized also is the people that you meet in the fashion industry, they have such significant all-round talent, and yet is the industry that is really the most underpaid. And you need to have such an incredible range and broad skill set. You need to be amazing at communicating. You need to have very specific taste. You need to put yourself empathetically in the shoes of others, in the shoes of the consumer,
Mhm.
right? And creating beauty, feeling zeitgeist. You need to be connected to your emotional world, to your intuition in order to push trends forward, because that's
Mhm.
what it is, right?
Yeah.
So it's that always really fascinated me about the industry. It's so creative, it's so colorful, it's so broad, and when you're surrounded by so much beauty, sometimes you don't feel the hours
Mhm.
until you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my last job was in
Yes.
corporate fashion, and that was the last 8 years. And that is the job that also eventually brought me on my knees. And that's
Mhm.
not down to the work itself. I think we're already getting to one of like the golden nuggets here, which is that burnout really doesn't have that much to do with how hard you're working with the job itself, but with a lot of other limitations. And what happened to me is what happens to a lot of other people. We are so focused on external health and external goals in the first part of our lives. And all we get is the order. This is what you need to achieve. You need to go get that job, that title, that money. You need to buy a house. You need to do all of these things. So you're geared towards ticking all of these boxes. And
Exactly.
that's what drives you,
That's the image that I had in my head. Tick, 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 tick.
right?
That's exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. And so unless you've achieved that, you keep on pushing, you keep on driving.
Mhm.
Of course, the ego comes into it and continuously tells you it's not good enough, so you need to get that better title and the even better salary and the better house and the better car. So on this journey, eventually, at a certain point in our lives, and you know, dare I say midlife? I don't think so. I'm not in my midlife yet. And I think that I think Gen Z actually experiences that a lot sooner also than millennials already. But at a certain point, we understand that internally things feel empty. What am I doing all of this for?
Yeah.
Who am I pleasing really? What is that secret audience that I'm performing for every day? Who am I masking? Who am I trying to function for? And that realization is really hard because we get to understand we were never ever given the skill set to live an internally healthy life.
No, definitely not. I completely agree with you, and I love that you bring this concept of midlife is shifting
Yeah.
ages, so to say. Because what is midlife? It's just a moment in time where one realizes that what they've been doing is just really not healthy, not in alignment with how they feel inside. And because we are an evaluationary species, I think everybody understands what I mean. I can't get it out properly, but we are in an evolution. It's logical that this midlife would be shifting, and we have much more, and we also are different age ranges. But in comparison to our parents and our grandparents, we have much more available to us to reflect this inner world that is not the reflection of the outer world. So exactly this shift is what is bringing the shift in the world in general. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the boiling point is just reached much, much sooner, depending on what generation you look like. We're much less grounded than the boomers.
Yes.
We're much more connected to technology. We're constantly sharing our day divided into three, four screens,
Hmm.
right? The disconnect is much, much stronger.
Yes.
And so that is a huge part of it. The suppression is much stronger.
Hmm.
There is a lot more competition, right? It's amazing to know that you can do anything you want. And
But
at the
what
same
do I want?
time, you have to do everything, right? That's so that those are those coexisting truths.
Hmm.
And so the pressure just gets to us. And on top of that, right, I think a key part of understanding why we're operating this way is also we are not taught to validate ourselves. we grow up in very, very harsh judgment of ourselves at all times. And then on top of that comes all of the comparison to others, to our neighbors, but also, of course, to countless success stories on social media. So whatever we tell ourselves constantly is that we are not good enough, that maybe something is wrong with us, that we don't belong. This is success is for others, or happiness is for others, or real love is for others. And so we're not even able to validate ourselves out of our situation,
Yeah.
right? When you have strong confidence and self-worth, a sense of self-worth, you're able to say, okay, I've reached a limit here until here and not further. When you have low self-worth, how are you going to do that? When you're addicted to validation of other people, how are you going to do that? You can't. You can't tell yourself what you're feeling is normal, Milena. It's completely acceptable that you're tired, that you're crying every day because you have neglected yourself and your emotions for years.
Yes. Reaching for something that is based on what the what the world wants, when
Yeah.
it's completely not in alignment with what is good for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you spoke about the. I just want to go back a little bit to the fashion industry, because it's
Sure.
amazing to me. It's amazing to me that the way you described how the fashion industry world works. And I mean, in 2025, fashion is also a lot for men. But from a little bit the older days, there wasn't a lot of fashion, or the fashion industry was not really directed at men. There was one way where men needed to be dressed. This was this was acceptable for a man. And my father always says, if women were not shopping, the whole industry would fall down. Yes, so I mean, it is an industry that is mainly directed at women. Women buy more, are
Yeah.
more into fashion than men, just generally speaking.
Yeah.
But it's not a world where there is any kind of feminine energetics in there. If I hear the way you were forced, maybe, or invited, and you tagged along, and it was how it was going. But there's nothing that is and really feminine in the way it's built.
No, not at all. Because
No.
essentially, right, it's built on the premise of constant self-optimization. And
Mm.
if we go back in history and we add the fact that, you're dressing for the male gaze, right?
Yes.
And you always and you add the competitive factor just from an instinctual behavioral aspect, right? Like this is going far, far, far back in the evolutionary process. We try to outshine like that peacock, which funnily enough is male. So
Exactly.
maybe we got it all wrong.
Uh-huh.
you know but we're, of course, if there is a competition, you're dressing for the male gaze, and every single piece is, trying to make you look more fashionable, more sexy, more, I don't know, slimmer, healthier, cooler, whatever your goals are, right? And then within that, we're still operating in a patriarchy, where capitalism is masculine energy.
It's all about money.
Absolutely. And it's all about growth, right? You need positive year-on-year growth. You need positive CAGR growth. So everything constantly has to grow. And we see that in the beauty industry as well. The purchasing power of women is no joke.
No.
And that is also because we are constantly, well, are we flat out told? I'm not so sure. Partially, definitely in the past, but it is implied that however we are currently is not something to be satisfied with,
Exactly.
right? So there needs to be constant improvement. That's the world we live in.
You can do something about your face, you can do something about your hair, you can do something about your makeup. I mean, there's this research that says actually that women that wear makeup, and I'm not talking about a little bit of makeup, I'm also wearing makeup, huh? I have a thingy here, I never know
Yeah.
how it's called, just to enhance the features that I like about myself. I'm not
Of
wearing
course.
any other kind of makeup, but there's this research that says that when women wear makeup, full on makeup, they earn 30% more as an entrepreneur than when they don't. And
Yes.
there's so there's a relationship this link is created between when you wear makeup, you are better at earning money and doing business. And what I see now in the world is you have or women that are full on in makeup, heels, always wearing the clothes that are on top of fashion, and that take care of their bodies, of their nutrition, or the complete other side, women that just don't care at all. They don't
Mhm.
take care of themselves at all.
Yeah.
And it seems like we lost the middle way. We lost the healthy, like, this is me. This is how I am. Well, that's my vision of it, at least. This is who I am. This is what I am. And, I'll get the inspiration. But
Mm.
I nearly want to say normal woman.
What is that?
Exactly. But maybe that's a different conversation. Okay. What is a normal woman? Yeah.
I read that study as well that you were referring to, and they also did a test with women in interviews coming in without makeup and with makeup.
Hmm.
And none of the women that were wearing no makeup got the job. Yeah. So there's a few very, very interesting studies on that. I think so, on a society level, there's this key understanding that, or this base level understanding that as a woman, if you are not dressed a certain way, or if you, have not have taken care of your hair, you don't have makeup on, you sort of lost the plot. You're
Hmm.
not, you don't have your shit together,
Yeah, exactly.
basically,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Which is just sad because this is what we were talking about just a little bit before. How connected are you to yourself?
Yeah.
Is your world only a reflection of what some people believe to be good or the way it should be? And how did we all of a sudden all together decide, yes, this is the way we should be doing it when we connect to the authenticity of who we are and to divine, we're all unique. So that's
Well,
boring.
let
Looking,
me add a little nugget to that.
yes.
I was 37 years old when I, for the first time as a grown woman, left the house without makeup on. It took me 37 years.
What was this learning curve, or what happened in that period of life for you?
Well, for one, we had moved out to Portugal at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So we were living be between Amsterdam and Portugal, and you're just much more connected to nature here.
Mm-hmm.
I had battled with severe acne and skin issues for an incredibly long time, and those were going away.
Mm-hmm.
And you have nature here, you're running, I was running half marathons at the time. You're in the sun. It's really counterintuitive to wear makeup. And
Mm-hmm.
even none of these facts like kept me from adding some before that. But at a certain point, there was just the realization of, my God, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? Who's going to judge you? This is the way you look like.
Yeah.
Why are you denying your face?
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't, make me into, bongo playing nature woman that never put makeup on again. I love getting ready. I love getting dressed. It is the favorite part of my day. And I have so much beauty in my day. And yet, dressing this avatar and having fun with the form that this universe gave me, that's my vibe. This is who I am. And some other people, some other women, they prefer, I don't know, getting new outfits every week and really full face of makeup every day, and others don't. And the whole point is that you can be whoever you want to be and you can do whatever you want to do. And that can also change from Wednesday to Thursday.
Exactly. And this is probably exactly the gap that we are talking about. Are
Mm,
you doing it because you are enjoying it? Because
mm,
it truly brings something. For me, joy always needs, I mean, without joy, I'm not doing anything. So for me, it will be joy. Does it bring me joy? Or is it something that I need to do because I feel obligated?
yeah,
Probably that's the gap that we are talking about.
100%. And you know what? I love that you said that because it brings us back to intent, to the very
Exactly.
beginning of this session.
Yeah.
It is about intent and joy. Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
It is about joy. If burnout teaches you one thing, is that you have neglected and forgotten joy and the importance of joy
Yeah.
and the life-changing power of joy.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, have fun and do what you want to do when you want to do. And that's terrifying for a moment, sure,
Hmm.
but with practice, not so much anymore.
No, exactly. Exactly. I mean, we need to unlearn what we learned to be true in order to really connect to ourselves, the truth of who we are. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So please take us a little bit. I hear when you speak about fashion, I hear the passion. And and I know that you're also very passionate about what you do now. And there was a moment in between that
Yeah.
you weren't really happy at all and not joyful, probably because I know that when we have a burnout, when we experience burnout, that we are not really joyful. Can you take us a little bit in that moment in your life there?
Absolutely. I think I will have to start a little bit earlier, probably for everyone to fully understand the story. So, I'm half German, half Russian. I was born in East Germany, lived in Russia a little bit as a child, and then mainly in Germany. When the wall came down, we moved down west. And so the Russian upbringing is strict. And generally speaking, Eastern European upbringing is very strict.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you have to look perfect. My mother taught me how to do my nails, and there is not a single woman who doesn't comment on my manicure.
Mm-hmm.
Very funny.
Yeah.
Every single time it's like, oh, where do you go? No, no, I did it myself. What? Disbelief. So it's very much, you would never ever even go out and put the rubbish out without makeup, a nice outfit, a perfect manicure, pedicure,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, you have to be incredibly intelligent. You have to bring home the best grades. So the pressure already from childhood onwards is very, very high. I remember my stepfather asking me, do you want to be a Kennedy or do you want to be a number two?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the kind of stuff, that I grew up with, and I know I'm not alone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure a lot of women out there will recognize that feeling of pressure of performing and,
Yeah.
from early on in childhood. And so I saw my mother in a financial dependency
Mm-hmm.
to the husband she was with. And very, very early, I think I must have been 4 or 5. It's an incredibly early memory. I knew that I had to be independent
Mm-hmm.
and do whatever it takes. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
So I left Germany when I was 18 or 19 and I moved to London. And it was clear that I was going to do my own thing. I joined the industry. I worked in luxury fashion. I worked in retail. And you've got German work ethic, and then you have that passion that, of course, also guides you, mm, but also really that energy of that a lot of women carry of I have to prove myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have to be approved of. I have to make sure that, people see I'm doing the work, I'm doing the thing. And so from my first job, I was working overtime. I was the first one in, the last one out.
Mm-hmm.
And it just continued this way. And that felt normal. That to me, that was just like how you were doing it. I really did not question it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, things happened in my life throughout that. I became quite ill at a certain point where I was dealing with reproductive issues. I had a lot of chronic symptoms, and of course, like I was smoking like a chimney, 16 years, you can imagine. Red wine, red wine and a cigarette. That was how you get through anything in the fashion industry.
Yeah.
Or at work in general,
Or
that
just in general, I mean, there is something many of us use to get through things.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. I was not maybe treating myself in the way that I should have. Of course, you're dieting all the time. Absolutely. Of course, you have to be the smallest person out there. So that was sort of a theme of my life. I'd also, now I've moved 23 times.
Mm-hmm.
So the move to Portugal was the 23rd. So change transformation, that was all a theme in my life constantly all the time. And I enjoyed it, but it also takes a lot out of you. And so all of this brings us to Amsterdam 2023, where I could feel that even though I'd made such fantastic positive changes in my life, I was in a very loving relationship. I had healed my body through those natural approaches and really self-tested so much. I've been doing shadow work. I overcame really severe childhood trauma as well.
Mhm.
And all of these fantastic things have happened, but I was still people pleasing. I was still overperforming. I was still pushing myself beyond exhaustion.
Mhm.
My ex-boss used to call me most weekdays in the evening, and we would be on the phone for at least an hour.
Mm.
And it never even occurred to me to tell him, don't call me.
Yeah.
It never even occurred to me, you know? So it's so funny. We talk about boundaries and oh, just set boundaries. No, no. Listen, if you're a people pleaser, you won't even think about that this is a situation that maybe requires boundary setting from you.
Yeah, yeah. I love it that you say it like that because it's not even something that you
No,
can craft in your head.
no,
Yeah.
no, exactly. So eventually, I realized, oh, we're reaching a really real limit here. There's some things that have happened at work and some management changes that basically tripled the workload, but I already had 12 to 16 meetings a day. So
Mm-hmm.
then it was basically, it just became absolute hell.
Mm.
Luckily, luckily, honestly, if I'm really, really grateful for hitting severe burnout, but it took me a while to understand that that's what I was in. First of all, again, because the subject of burnout is not really understood and is still not talked about enough.
Mm-mm.
Mm. And then what I was speaking to before is that lack of self-validation,
Mhm.
right? Because when you're feeling that you're reaching a limit, you all of a sudden you get really emotional at work all the time. You don't sleep. You don't take care of yourself anymore. You sort of neglect everything else but work.
Mhm.
And you have no ability to focus anymore. You have constant emotional crashes. You feel so disconnected to yourself but you're not really in those moments, you're not saying, oh, Milena, you know what? Take some time off and treat yourself well. No, the only thing we know how to do in this society, in this patriarchy, in, you know, um, what's the word I'm looking, not consumerism, but I'm missing the word now.
Mm.
We only know how to push more. We have never been taught how to do less or how to do nothing or how to be in stillness. The only thing we have learned is to do more. So naturally, to no fault of our own, we just think of doing more. I just need another green juice, and then maybe I just need to work out more. I need to get into my body more.
Exactly. So you're not feeling good. What are you going to do to solve that?
Exactly.
We never learn to stand still and
No,
observe
no,
and being bored.
no.
When in truth, being bored is, especially as children, by the way,
Yeah,
but as grown-ups, it's also amazing just being bored because that really ignites the creativity in our brain and
yeah,
it really connects us to what we are doing and
absolutely.
it supports us in understanding where we are overriding ourselves. But yes, what you speak about is absolutely it's absolutely beautiful. We don't learn, we don't know, we don't. It's not
No,
something that is normal because the whole
yeah,
society we live in, the whole system is built on this doing more. And what we spoke about also at the beginning of our conversation, we this and maybe especially for women, I don't know, for girls and women, I don't know, I've never been a man in this lifetime, so I have no idea. But we learn that we go to school, maybe we get a degree, it's not really important still in our it's important if you I want to be independent, but then you're going to have children, you're going to be a mother, and then you're going to be a wife for a little bit, and then you're going to be a grandmother, and then you die.
yeah.
Those are all the boxes again you
Mm.
need to tick and to check, and as long as you are on that road, you are good,
Yes,
you're
exactly.
behaving, you
Yeah,
are following the path that has been laid down for you
yeah.
by also your ancestors, because we carry so much truth that have been accepted as being truth from
Mm.
the generations before us.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
we are at a time where this is all breaking down,
Yeah.
isn't
And
it?
it's so funny to be in this moment in time right now where we get to question what we have been taught. We get to question our beliefs, which by the way is part of burnout recovery as well. But that's it. It's, in capitalist, that was the word that I was looking for, by the way.
Found
You know,
it.
in a capitalistic society, all we understand is growth and all we understand is more.
Yeah.
It's a volume game,
Yeah.
right? And so yeah, so I found myself in a situation. I was a senior director. I was
Mhm.
very successful at work. I loved my job very much. I had a
Mhm.
wonderful team,
Mhm.
and I was managing an organization of around 50 people that these people were my heart.
Mhm.
And there, it was very, very, very hard to think about letting go of all of that and stepping out of it. That was probably the hardest part. It's the amount of grief that is involved,
Yeah.
of exiting
Mhm.
the identity that you have built for yourself and sort of disconnecting your ego from the value you thought you had through your title, through your identity, through your salary, through all of these things. That was a journey. And very early on, I realized, listen, I'm not going to go through this severe burnout without learning how to fully recover, relapse free from it. I want to get to the bottom of this. I'm not just going to rest and then see what happens and then go into another interview, right? I always knew this job was going to be my last employment. I was always going to do something on my own after. So that truth already existed within me.
Mhm.
And that gut feeling has always led me through life. So it's another part. It's very interesting. I want to add this here. A lot of growth has happened in my life until the point where I reached severe burnout. And I was already leading from my gut feeling fully. I was like, my whole job, I led from gut feeling.
Mm.
And yet, and yet, burnout can happen to you. There is, I really thought I was exempt because I had done so much inner work,
Mhm.
because there was so many universal principles that I'd understood already. I was spiritual and, I was questioning myself and I knew about limiting beliefs and I knew about all of this kind of stuff. But you can know about a lot of stuff, and when it's not integrated, ooh,
Mhm.
you will get to your limits. And as I said, I'm so, so grateful that I did. I got to address the people pleaser.
Mhm.
I got to address the woman who has a hard time saying no. I got to meet the woman who is afraid to take space,
Mhm.
who needs to be liked.
Mhm.
And I peacefully said goodbye to them all. And so you're meeting a completely different person here,
Yeah.
Ghislaine.
So, what was the one thing that still led you to the burnout?
The one thing, oh goodness,
Or maybe I can't ask you that because it's not the one thing.
it's so
Uh,
late.
yeah.
Hmm, I need a moment here. There's so many stories to tell. I think that the one piece, two pieces maybe. Number one is addiction to identity.
Hmm. Beautiful. Beautiful
Love.
realization. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved being a boss. I loved being a leader. I loved having that title at a relatively young age. I was proud of that. To me, it was also the proof that I had achieved what I had set out to do at age 4, right?
Hmm.
I decided to be independent and I managed it. I was worry-free about finances at all times. Like,
Yeah.
that's a huge thing for a woman. Like, let's not underestimate that, you know? And so that definitely was a big piece, letting people down, leaving my team
Hmm.
out on their own defenses, to their own defenses. how do you say it? I'm not a native speaker, sorry.
Well, yes, to take care of themselves because you were acting as a shield
Yeah,
to
exactly, big
protect
time.
them from, you were holding everything for them.
Yeah.
That's the identity that you took on, that you
And then
said.
finally, the biggest part is that I allowed everyone in my life to take as much space
Hmm.
as they could apart from myself.
Hmm.
I did not know how to take space.
Yeah.
No idea. And yeah, we get very resentful when and bitter when we see other people taking space that we ourselves can't.
Yeah.
That's also why there's so much judgment out there. Oh, look at this person. That person's so cringe, and how dare she, right?
Hmm.
It's just it's our own sadness, it's our own bitterness, our own grief speaking that this space also belongs to us.
Hmm.
There is no lack of space in this universe. There's enough space for all of us to be exactly who we want to be at any given time, moment in time.
Hmm.
And so that was a big, big piece for me. And it's funny, it's so clear now to answer it and so easy now to answer it. As I stepped out into full burnout. I was on permanent sick leave. And I kept making notes and I kept like as I was going on walks, making voice notes of how I was feeling and because it was changing day to day, because partially you really feel like you've gone insane. You drop into such a deep hole and then I mean it's so so layered, right? But I remember at that point I was like, okay, I want to learn how to take space. So I kept leaving myself voice notes and I said to all of my friends, listen, I have no idea how this is going to play out, but I'm trying to take space and I don't know how to do that. But I just want you to have some grace with me here because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, you lose some friendships.
I wanted to say, how many of your friends do you still, were able to hold you in that? Because it's not, it's not that they then don't give you the space and they don't want you to have the space. And it's just, most people don't know how to. They don't know how to hold space for someone else. They don't know how to, witness you in that which you are trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Also because they lack the capability of truly doing it for themselves.
100%. And if, people always used to come to me from an early age, like the identity of helper
Hmm.
very ingrained in me, right? And again, I've not lost that. There is nothing that makes me happier than to see people empowered and liberated. That, I mean, it became, in your own words, Ghislaine, my divine assignment, right? So, of course, that's part of like the soul mission on this planet here, in this lifetime at least. Nevertheless, that doesn't mean that every relationship you have has to be painted in that color. And
Hmm.
so it's very harsh when all of a sudden you focus on not pouring outwardly,
Hmm.
and people in your life, there will be some that can't deal with that. They don't know what to do when they don't constantly receive from you.
Yes, and also because of the process you are going through, they have to witness what they do not do for themselves, how
Yeah,
they do not love themselves and therefore listen enough to their own boundaries, or how, their whole world can come to a crumble when they witness someone that is.
yeah,
Oh, that in the beginning you cannot, there's no choice. When you feel you have a burnout or a depression, in the beginning you don't feel there is a choice.
yeah,
But that's the reflection that you offer to others.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, you confront them with their own resistance. And I think this is, if I have to boil it down to maybe like one guiding theme in my life that essentially led us today here
Yeah,
into this moment is being able to walk through the resistance and not shy away from it.
exactly. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, we spend so much time in our lives being afraid of the monsters under our bed
Hmm.
and we're sleepless, we lose incredible quality of life through obsessing over the potential of the monsters under the bed, but we're too afraid to just turn on the light and look underneath.
Exactly.
So it's, how desperate are you, or not how desperate, but oof, how much suffering can you eliminate from your life if you just have that one strong burst of courage to turn on the light, look underneath, know there's nothing there, and then walk forward. And that this is sort of the theme. And this is how I went through this burnout. I want to walk through it, and I know I can handle the depths
Yes.
of the suffering and the pain because there is a space on the other end of that. And I
Yes.
will not live my life afraid of the trauma, the resistance, the pain,
Hmm.
because therefore I create a life of pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
A suppressing is suffering.
Mhm.
So this is it. This is I wrote some sort of key messages down of things that I want to bring forth, and how we deal with resistance, how we deal with
Mhm.
our shadows or our fears or our traumas, our baggage, name it whatever you will, right?
There's so many different ways of bringing it because it resonates in a different way with different persons. Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that says everything about how happy, how joyful our lives are, how internally successful
Hmm.
our lives are,
Yeah.
and the quality of our life.
Hmm.
If I keep running away, what's the quality of my life? What's the quality of the next whatever 40, 50 years I still have on this wonderful planet, right?
Exactly. Are we
Yeah.
thriving or are we surviving?
Yeah. And
Are we
it's all
really living?
about,
Yeah.
yeah, learning the skill set to live an internally healthy and happy life. That's what the whole burnout has taught me. That's what I ventured out to do. And that's what I want to help others with is really vastly increasing the quality of the rest of your life, strengthening you so that you have all of the tools it takes. It's no one's fault that we did not learn that. It is not our fault. It isn't. But now, we need to get our shit together and
Yes.
learn it so that we can thrive.
Yes, exactly. And then, at the same time, I believe there's a reason why we experience all this. Our soul chose a body on this earth because it wanted to experience all those things.
Yes.
When I am now at a point in my life that I know when I feel sadness about something, anything, I know deep in my heart that my soul is still rejoicing because my soul just wants to experience emotions. The good one, the bad one, the ugly ones, the ones that are wearing makeup and the ones that are not wearing any makeup. My soul is just happy going there. Yeah, she's feeling sad and I'm experiencing that. So that's yeah. I believe it's the point of it, to learn. Well, it's one of the points of it, and I just wanted to go a little bit further in your journey,
Sure.
and I believe one of the fears that we have when we hit an edge or a burnout or a moment in life is that we don't know who we are after that.
Yeah.
And I believe that we take all the qualities and all the things, the leader, the boss, the one that is holding a team and taking care of people and nourishing them, we just bring that person into the world in a different way. So what is it that you changed in your ways of doing, and how do you share that with the women that you help, with your client? You're not only helping women, you also support
No,
men in burnout. Yes.
no, matter of fact, half of my clients are male, which makes me very, very happy because men are also really disadvantaged in this world.
Yes.
Women, we're allowed to feel emotions.
Yes. Oh, that's
So
true. That's true.
that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
So yes, the biggest change for sure is all about productivity.
Hmm.
I was obsessed with a to-do list before. I was obsessed with achieving as many tasks as possible. I think everyone listening to this can agree, right? When we have achieved, when we ticked things off our list for the day, we feel we are a better person. And I was running around with the belief that if I'm not useful, I'm not valuable.
Hmm.
I clocked that quite early on in my burnout. And then I set myself to truly, truly rewire that belief.
Hmm.
And so productivity now has a completely different meaning to me because the more in alignment I am, the more I feel everything around me, the more connected I am, the more grounded I am. the more productive I am.
Mm-hmm.
Had ginormous breakthroughs in moments of deep rest, you know? And so it's very interesting. We also look at things from a volume perspective, right? Especially as a founder who runs now her own business, you often think of, oh, I need to reach out to these people and I want to do sessions here and oh, blah, blah, blah. And then, oh, let me email all of these locations and let me talk to all of these people. I don't operate like this at all. If it's not in alignment, it's not going to happen. So the more in my life I've strengthened that connection to my gut, that connection to my intuition, the less I have to abide by these frankly limiting, stupid principles that we run on that just make us way more exhausted in life. And the funny thing is, it works. I have a feeling to reach out to that one person. Perfect. It's aligned. It happens.
Yeah.
In another moment of my life, maybe I would have reached out to 100 people. Imagine the work that is involved in that. Ugh, you know? So, yeah.
Because when we, the modern saying is within the marketing world, reach out to 30 people, there will at least be 10 that will, sign up. So, it's just a question. What they say, what is being said is it's just a question of numbers. It's a question of numbers. Well, yes, but what kind of numbers?
Absolutely.
Is that the way? Are those the people you want to have here? You want to have in your life and involved in your in the programs or in whatever you offer? Because is that the standards that you want to live by, so to say?
It's just another limiting belief. The belief that I also, oh, unless you post every day or you post 5 reels a day, you're not going to cut it above your competition. If I buy into that, then I believe that. And guess what? The universe will arrange itself around that belief in my life,
Mhm.
which also ultimately means I'm putting myself into a victim position where unless I do this, I will not get this.
Yeah.
There is no way that I will ever put myself back into a victim position like that. If I set the intent before I post any reel, before I even write it, before I even come up with, whatever gets channeled through me, what's the topic of the day, I set the intent that it will reach the people it needs to reach. It will reach the people that need that empowerment right now, that needs those words, that need whatever, and that will be fine.
Yes.
It, this comparison, it's all there to keep you in a lack position.
Hmm.
I need this and then I need that. Oh no, I need to post 5 times a day and I need to do all of this and I need to call all of these people because otherwise I am not like cut out to be a founder. I'm not cut out to be an independent woman or I'm not cut out to be successful. Whatever, like fill in the blank, honestly.
Yes. And it's all based on fear. It's all based on fear that there are certain things that you need to do in order to achieve this and that, when in truth, being successful is not defined by what it has been defined up until now, so to say.
Yes,
We get to
absolutely.
choose. We get to choose what defines our success in that moment.
100%. And it's so funny, when I launched my business last year, I had a specific business plan set out where there would be one-on-one client sessions, very, very important to me. There would be group sessions. I have this free monthly burnout call where, people can just dial in. We get to validate each other. I do it with a friend of mine who's a psychotherapist who also went through burnout. So it's a great crew, really popular call. So a little bit of free one-on-one and then a big part, the business sessions. I was immediately booked out with clients,
Yeah.
which, I mean, of course, I'm so grateful for that. It's amazing. And at the same time, I realized, oh shit, I actually need more time to flesh out my other offers,
Yeah.
right? And then you think, okay, but how do I let go? And oh my God, and how do I do that? And just understanding that it's all divinely orchestrated, right? And even in your business, you have to practice taking space. If you need space to finish your offerings, if you need space to create, you need to take that space. That space can be physical space, that space can be time. And so it's setting the standard. We also don't know, and this is what we need to figure out with ourselves. What does success mean to us? Is the busier I am, the more successful I am? Because if that's the case, that could also be that I'm still making my happiness dependent on the validation of others.
Mm-hmm.
right? Of the outside world. The outside world says, everyone's booking with you. She's good. Less
Yeah.
clients, bad. You know, it's all in here.
Yes, it
And it's
is.
again like self-judgment. It's, it's funny, like, oh, now I'm more free, but I'm still abiding. I'm still in the hamster wheel because I still abide through those limiting beliefs. And I check in with yourself 24/7. Which belief is running the show? What thought is taking over right now? So
And I love that you are bringing that forward because I'm guilty of it. And
we all are.
I mean, it's a game. And well, maybe in those moments I need to think of my soul still rejoicing, but it's a it's a well, a game is maybe not the right word to describe it, but it's in and out and in and out and in and out. It's sometimes I'm really connected, and I'm just really happy when I have a positive response on one of my reels or something that I shared in a session, and the person is just really inspired, and I'm like, yeah, yeah. And then, maybe 2 hours later or 5 days later, I'm like, nobody heard my message. So it's the conditioning that we agreed to, I'm gonna say, that we heal with doing the shadow work, doing the family constellation, whatever tools there are out there. It's still a day to day, exactly like you said, checking in with yourself. How am I responding to this? Am I responding from the conditioning and the fear and the past me? Or am I responding from the belief and the understanding that if it is my life's goal to reach that one person, my I did it.
Yeah.
I'm
And
complete.
that whatever happens, whether the reel goes viral or the reel has two views or we get a hate comment, none of it says anything about who we are.
Hmm.
Who we are is way too vast to understand.
Yeah.
And let's not limit ourselves, with, oh, I have failed because my reel was seen by two people, or I have failed because someone was in a real shitty mood and thought that they'd give me their opinion that morning, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
We have no control over what happens with people on the outside. And I've really disconnected myself from that.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And I can only recommend it. It's quite freeing.
Mm. Freedom with Milena, new project.
Freedom. It's funnily enough, do you know what my graduation song was?
Tell me. Freedom.
Freedom by Michael Jackson, by George Michael.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, I'm a ginormous fag hag, but also just love George Michael, and that word has always meant the most to me. The most. If I could have it on my forehead, I would, but that's not good.
That's a little bit. Well, I mean, you get to
It's
define
free.
whatever you want. Yeah.
Can you imagine? Liberté.
I like that. It's a little bit where in French it sounds a little bit like you're going to chop everybody's head if they don't agree with you. But okay, that's the history of France. So that's engraved in me.
What
Uh,
is your word?
my word. Mm. I think joy.
Love that.
Yes, joy. I can feel joy with tears, with laughters, with an orgasm, with a cuddle, with looking at a flower. In any moment of my existence, I can feel joy. So yes, that's definitely a word, and I love the word joy as well. It's so.
Mhm.
I mean, the sound of it,
Mhm.
which is in French. Let me just joy. Yeah. Oh, that's very interesting to look at this in different languages.
Yeah.
Using different languages, but la bonne humeur, yes.
Oh, bonne
La
humeur.
joie.
Ah, okay.
La
And
bonne
then
humeur, la joie. The direct translation is la joie.
yeah,
It's the same. Yeah.
it's a very beautiful word in all languages. And I love also that when you look at the letters, it
Hmm.
doesn't look like any other word.
No.
It's quite unique.
Yes. In Dutch, it's vreugde. which also is very positive. Well, it really it has a nice sound to it, Vreugde.
Yeah, in German it's Freude.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
same
yeah,
sounds.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Super
Yes.
interesting.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is very interesting.
Beautiful word.
Yes, thank you so much, Milena, for being here with me, with us, and for gifting us with your lights.
Thank you so much for having me, Ghislaine. This was a lot of fun. I could go on for like 3 more hours easy,
Well, yes,
but we've already been.
let's make this happen and have you on two other podcasts in down the way, down the road. And if our listeners and viewers want to connect with Milena, all the details of her where she is to be found are in the caption. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Ghislaine.
Bye.